Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Main Street Virtual Town Hall. It's hosted by myself, Legislator Jason Richberg, Legislator for the 15th District, as well by Councilman DuWayne Gregory and our Assemblywoman, Kimberly Jean-Pierre. I'm going to introduce them first because I know the Assembly is in session, so I'm going to hand it over to Assemblywoman Jean-Pierre to give welcome and greetings.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, and I want to thank my colleagues, Jason Richberg and, our new legislator, Jason Richberg, and our Councilman, DuWayne Gregory, for organizing this imperative virtual discussion. We've been quarantined for 2 months, and this has largely impacted our families, but more importantly, our small businesses. Some businesses I've known, and I've known who've been in existence for over 20 years and don't know if they're gonna be able to come back. And a lot of employees have been furloughed, and policies are gonna change when we start to open up Long Island and the rest of the state and the rest of the country. So I really wanna thank our Senator, our US Senator, Chuck Schumer, for helping us organize this discussion with both John and Robin. And I think this will be an opportunity for our small businesses in our districts that we share in the town of Babylon and beyond to ask questions that's imperative to when we start opening up. So again, I want to thank you. I can't stay. We are in session. We came back today, and we're actually passing some legislation that relates to COVID-19. So again, thank you, and I hope that you find this virtual conversation informative. And I will get back to reading the questions that you asked, and my office is the doors may not be open. Our phone number and our operation is still open. So again, thank you, and I hope you find this informative. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you very much. And you brought up a good point. Before Councilman Gregory goes, I really want to thank our senior senator, Chuck Schumer, for putting this together, especially Garrett Armwood, mostly because I've been calling him for every day for the last 2 months to make sure this goes through. But definitely thank you to our senior senator for that. It's definitely helpful. Councilman Gregory?
Thank you, Legislator Berg and Assemblywoman Jean-Pierre. It's always a pleasure to work with you guys, and we largely represent the same areas and work with you guys for years, and pleased to be able to work with you in this conversation today. I'm going to thank our senior senator as well, Senator Schumer, who we know is working 25 hours a day, 7 days a week, fighting for New York and for all of us here actually out, particularly in New York, but all across the country. He's a true leader, and certainly appreciate his leadership. I'm pleased to be here today to join this conversation. We have Matt McDonough from Babylon IDA, who's doing tremendous things, and our representatives from the SBA, and to have this conversation about small businesses who are struggling. As we know, the small business community is the backbone of our economy. So it's important that we have a conversation about how do we get them back up and running. As Assemblywoman Kimberly Jean-Pierre said, there are people who have had small business for decades who are in jeopardy of losing everything that they built up. So we want to have this conversation, ensure that they are able to understand and utilize the resources that are available to them here today. So thank you all for being here, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you. Matt, I'm going to ask Matt McDonough to go next, but I think Councilman Gregory brings us a good point. About 50% of our economy here in Suffolk County, and definitely in Nassau and Suffolk County, is small businesses. We are the backbone of America, and we're definitely the backbone of this county. And so if we can't get our small businesses back up and moving in the right direction, it's going to be hard for us to get this economic recovery to move forward. And being closed for 2 months has definitely shifted all of our perspectives on what's important and how we can move forward. And that's why we're having this conversation today. Because if we don't work together to figure out how to move forward, we can't move forward. And so thank you very much. It's great to have partners in the state and the town and obviously in our federal elected officials as well and in offices, so we can do that. Matt McDonough, you want to talk to us about what the town of Babylon is doing?
Sure. Thank you, Legislator Richberg, and just echoing what you and Councilman Gregory said about small businesses. Councilman Gregory and the rest of the town board came together to come get resources from the town to small businesses, because understanding that they do contribute to the quality of life that makes Babylon such a great place to live. It's also small businesses that attract the larger businesses. The IDA is dealing with large manufacturing clients, and the reason they choose Babylon is because of the quality of life, because of our downtowns. So we need to make sure we're there for small businesses, that we have resources. It's very easy for us to show up at ribbon cuttings and when things are fine, but when the chips are down, we want to be there for you as well. So we've come up with a set of guidance and resources to help you get through some of the state requirements, but also some tips and guidelines about how to implement those and what's that going to mean for you. So if you visit the IDA's website, babylonida.org, and click the banner at the top, it will lead you to our resource center that has a 13-minute video that I narrated, so it'll be this droning voice for 13 minutes, but it goes through the state process, what you need to do as a minimum to open up as the phases start rolling back. The IDA is also contactlessly reaching out to businesses. We're going door to door on off business hours to distribute some of the guidance. We're also going to be making phone calls and emails to every town of Babylon business to talk about how you're going to reopen and can reopen safely. So the information on the state, on the town's website includes a 4-page brochure and a 2-page flyer that talks about what the state requirements are. As a minimum, as a business opening up during the phases, you're going to have to log on to the state website and print out the safety template. It's about a 9-page document that walks you through all of the areas the state's interested in you implementing. And after you've completed that, you're going to have to post that in your business and make it available to public health officials if they ask for it. Additionally, you're going to have to find your specific industry guidelines, read the summary guidelines, understand them, and affirm that you're going to implement them. You'll e-sign the link at the bottom of the detailed guidelines and submit that to the state. So as a bare minimum, those 2 things need to be done. And we want to make sure Babylon businesses have them. And if they need any help filling them out, they can, of course, reach out to us. Our email is info@babylonida.org or 631-587-3679. Again, 631-587-3679. Like so many of you out there, we're still working remotely, so someone may not pick up, it may go to voicemail, but we will get back to you. One of the things we've been telling people is to create a transition team. As you start thinking about ways to reduce bidirectional traffic, or maybe you're too small to implement social distancing, or how are you going to get your employees PPE because of supply chain issues? Even if it's just you, sit down and critically think about those things. If you have any issues, you can reach out to us, but we've set up a mentor program of businesses for the last 2 months who've been deemed essential because they're creating PPE or because they're defense or whatever the case might be, and have been dealing with these issues on the fly. So some of them have dealt with social distancing, some of them have dealt with how to get PPE. They'll help you transition. They're ready and available to answer questions that are business specific. And we are also coming out with more detailed guidelines on industry specific things about how to increase ventilation, HVAC issues that might come up, and also loan programs associated with getting those things rolling. I think the second most important thing after you set up your transition team is communication. Using your email list, your social media, your website, direct mail, or however you talk to your customers and your employees about how you're going to keep them safe, and also how you're going to roll out these guidelines that they help to follow them. People always have and always will have to make the choice between going to our downtowns and shopping or going online. We've introduced an additional barrier that is a health issue. Do I stay at home and use Amazon because I don't want to put myself at risk or my loved ones at risk, as opposed to going to the downtown? So we need to communicate with our customers how we're doing this, how it's keeping them safe. And, you know, as the initial cabin fever starts to wear off, that they continue to shop in our local small businesses. Some of the areas that state touches in the guidelines is social distancing. It's supplying PPE to your employees. It's also hygiene, providing hand washing stations or hand sanitizer with alcohol above 60%. if they're going to be in contact with another. And another thing is screening. You will need to record when your employees are there, when you have had cleaning sessions, and if you don't have contactless delivery or delivery done with PPE, you'll also need to record what vendors have come into the building. And that's to assist the state in contact tracing. Additionally, you'll have to screen employees prior to them coming to the workplace. Some of that can be done remotely. They can take their temperature at home and fill out a questionnaire and email or call you ahead of time with what those results are. If they are sick, they shouldn't come to work. If they become sick at work, they're to go home. They should see their health provider and quarantine for 14 days. So these are some of the things as you go through the summary guidelines and the state guidelines, you're realizing that you need to implement and need to do because that's what the state is requiring for reopening. The reopening is done in phases. Phase 1 is construction, manufacturing, agriculture and aquaculture. It's also retail and wholesale, retail with curbside pickup. Phase 2 is professional services and offices, as well as retail, sort of storefront retail. Restaurants and bars will open up in phase 3. And then finally, phase 4 is entertainment, so theaters and museums and things like that. So the timeline and the phases, again, that's on the town's website. You can check that out. We sort of talk about what we estimate the timelines will be, but it's all based on metrics the state has set out. Long Island right now is only behind in the 30 contact tracers. So once that was met, the phases could be initiated. If those metrics start to fall behind, they have what they call the valve or control room. They would slow down or shut off future phases. So we don't want to go back to square one. We want to keep providing, phase 1, phase 2, keep going. So just if we implement them quickly, communicate with our customers about how we're going to do that. There's no reason why all businesses shouldn't be open into the beginning of the summer. So the town has also been researching, just so you know, and looking to help with PPE if businesses have issues accessing supply chain, or because the last 2 months they haven't had any revenue. The IDA is looking into ways to provide that PPE free of charge. We will be hosting, after we finish our canvassing of all businesses to help them implement this, webinar boot camp, which will sort of walk through legal issues and other things that might arise as you're starting the business back up after a 2-month hiatus. Also, we're looking into outdoor seating and outdoor retail. Some businesses are small footprints. They're 500, 400 square feet. It's very difficult with racking and shelving and stuff to maintain 6 feet distance and keep it safe. Bringing that retail outside in a safe way might be one of the ways we get around that, as well as outdoor dining for smaller restaurants. There's also we're also looking into contact tracing through apps and other available means to help you at least trace employees, which you probably already would do and have a system for, but also clients who would be interested in that and customers who would be interested in that. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, again, give us a call or visit our website. We're more than happy to help. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. That was great. And if anybody had an opportunity to see or look over the Babylon IDA's presentation, I was floored. I think I got it last Thursday or Friday. And the first thing I sent back to Matt was, this is great. This is exactly what we need. And I know a lot of our downtowns have been asking for this kind of stuff because it gives a step-by-step plan of what you should do on a local level to move forward. So thank you, Matt. DuWayne, do you have any questions?
I know that was very informative, Matt. Not to catch you off guard, but how many small businesses approximately do we have in the town of Babylon, Matt?
We have about 5,000 or more.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea with what the IDA is looking to do and helping to support PPE for local businesses, because that's going to be, unfortunately, that's going to be a part of life, for the short-term future. Are you seeing a trend? I've had people reach out to me about, securing devices that take people's temperatures as they walk in or out, or, obviously a concern too is with the guidelines that are out, initially companies are going to have to, particularly restaurants, who, they survive off of very thin margins. If you're at 25% capacity, 50% capacity, they still may not be able to survive, but that's what's recommended from the CDC in New York State and others. Have you heard any more about that, and how, particularly restaurants and small businesses, how they're going to be able to survive with those type of thresholds that are going to be very challenging?
It's definitely going to be challenging. Obviously, some are dealing with the last 2 months just completely lost revenue, and then are coming back to a new reality where you're never going to see the margins that you saw pre-COVID, on top of having to do an initial investment just to get reopened, not just cleaning, but installing the equipment you're talking about. So we're trying to figure out ways to alleviate that by providing PPE to those who need it. Also coming up with a conduit so that if people can't find those things that they're looking for, there is at least a requirements contract that they could get something at a fair price quickly. So we're definitely know that, we've met with the chambers of commerce and the mayors and the villages who have been great partners over the last, and have been sounding boards for us. They keep the pulse of local businesses. They've been telling us this information. We don't have those answers. We don't shoot right from the hip. We want to make sure we have everything in line and can provide things to those 5,000 businesses that are in Babylon. So we are looking through that stuff. The PPE donations are definitely available. That will be rolled out within the next week. But the other things about dealing with lost margins, unfortunately, I think mainly that's going to come as a federal issue, and additional rounds of stimulus. Hopefully that will happen.
Great, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Matt. That was great, and thank you for the questions. And now I'm going to introduce our Small Business Administration representatives. So first we have John Milano. He's the Small Business Administration New York Deputy District Director. And we have Robin Daniels. She's the SBA Senior Relations Specialist. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jason. So just to give you a little update on what the SBA New York District Office does. The SBA District Office in New York is the largest office in the country. Normally, we do over $1 billion in loans, and that's through our 7A and 504 program. We cover the 5 boroughs of New York City, including Nassau and Suffolk County, and the lower Hudson Valley. So normally, to date, we are the largest lending volume of any SBA district in the country.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to hand this over to Robin, because I know you guys have a PowerPoint presentation, and then we're going to go through questions. Okay, so Robin, are you ready?
Yes, I am. You have it up on the screen?
Hold on, we'll say, and Mike is sharing the screen. There we go, we are up.
Okay, so this is the COVID-19 Economic Relief Program that we do have. Small Business Economic Relief. These are our 3 major programs that fall under the CARES Act. We have the Paycheck Protection Program. We have the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance, which is the EIDL loans, as well as SBA Debt Relief. Our regular SBA-based programs are the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which includes deferments throughout 2020. We have the traditional SBA-backed lending, which now includes the new Express Business Loan Pilot Program, as well as no-cost business advising, and those are our resource partners. But the CARES Act is created for small business, emergency capital, and payment relief. The Paycheck Protection Program keeps workers on payroll. It's up to a $10 million. It's forgivable loan if 75% is used for payroll costs. Now, to qualify for loan forgiveness, it must be full-time employees, headcount must be maintained, salaries and wage 30 of 2020 to restore full-time employment and salary wages from any changes made between February 15th and April 26th. So we also have the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance. This is up to a $10,000 advance. There is no repayment. Join online application with the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. So that's the EIDL loan. We also have the debt relief on working capital. They are given an automatic 6-month deferral on principal, interest, and fees. That is actually available through September 30th, 2020, and is offered by SBA-approved lenders. Now, borrowers will owe money when the loan is due if borrowers do not use the loan amount for anything other than payroll costs, mortgage interest rate, rent, and utility payments over the 8 weeks after receiving the loan. The Paycheck Protection Program, in the first round, it was $349 billion. It provided in the CARES Act. It was signed into law on March 27th, opened on April 3rd, and it was exhausted of all its funds at 10 o'clock a.m. on April 16th. That was 1.6 million loans have been approved, and SBA has processed more than 14 years worth of loans in only 14 days. The second round is for $310 billion. It provides in PPP and Healthcare Enhancement Act that was signed into law on April 24th. We reopened it on April 27th. And there's $2.7 million loans that was approved as of May 16, totaling more than $195 billion. And there's money still available. I will repeat that. There is money still available. The PP totals for as far as $4.3 million in loans, which is $513+ billion. So the Paycheck Protection Program, as you can see, these are some of the statistics for the New York region. There is 280,000 plus loans that have been approved, and it's worth $37 billion plus that have been approved also. Now, nationally, over $4.3 million in PPP loans, totaling $500 billion within 7 weeks. So we also have other lenders that are helping us. We have CDFIs, MDIs, we have FinTechs, as well as credit union that's assisting us. Okay, now who is eligible? Small businesses that meet SBA size standards, either industry-based or alternative size. You can actually find your size standards inside the North American classification system, which we consider as the NAICS code. Any businesses that are 501c3 nonprofit organization or a 501c19 veterans organization, a tribal business with greater than 500 employees, or with the NAICS codes that begin with the 72 for accommodations and food services, with more than one physical location and less than 500 employees. Sole proprietors, independent contractors, as well as self-employed people. Now, what does it provide? It provides up to a $10 million loan with a 2-year term at 1% interest rate, of which goes up to 8 weeks of eligible expenses that are forgiven for those certain companies that retain their employees on a payroll, and they have used 75% of the loan proceeds towards the payroll cost. Now, what counts as payroll costs? You have salary, wages, commissions, or tips, employees' benefits, including costs for vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave, allowance for separation or dismissal, payments required for the provision of group health care benefits, including insurance premiums, as well as any retirement benefits. The Paycheck Protection Program, how to apply. Through our local lending institutions, you can actually find on our website. You can go there, put your zip code in, and then they'll be able to find a lender that is closest to you in your area. And you can actually go to our website, which is sba.gov, Paycheck Protection, where you can actually find more information in regards to these programs. If you have already applied, per the PPP interim final ruling, funding is on a first come, first served basis, and lenders should not hold or delay applications. Applications are approved by the lender who sends them to SBA for verification. Check with your lender to see if your application has actually been put into the SBA system. Once your lenders receive an SBA approval, it must be dispersed within 10 days. Upon receipt of your payment, you should consider opening up a separate account so that you can track and document all of your expenditures during this forgiveness period. Now, the purpose of the PPP is to keep paychecks going in America, regardless if it's a small business can open or not. Full-time as well as part-time employees should be counted in total. The maximum annual salary is for $100,000 per employee. Independent contractors as well as sole proprietors should file on their own. A business should not be able to count them inside of their payroll estimates. Now, the 8-week periods begin the day that the lender has actually dispersed the loans to the borrower, as well as loans greater than $2 million will be reviewed to ensure that the borrower did not have adequate sources of liquidity for funding. Loans will have to be repaid if borrower is found ineligible. If repaid, the SBA will not pursue enforcement actions. Top points in regards to the loan forgiveness. The loan forgiveness application needs to be submitted to the lender that is holding the actual loan. The start date for the PPP is the date in which it was dispersed to you, and the time frame goes from 8 weeks from the time that you receive it until the end of the 8 weeks. And in some cases, your payroll, the way that your payroll is dispersed may change the extent of this. If less than 75% of the PPP loan was used for your payroll costs, your forgiveness may be reduced. That's if less than. For each employee, the maximum amount you can claim will be $15,000. That will actually cover 8 weeks if you was making a 100-year salary. If received, the item loan is actually deducted from the deduct claim criminal charges, and there's more information to come. So direct monies and loans from the federal government. The idle loans, additional 50 billion is actually designated in the PPP to go towards healthcare in an Enhancement Act. As of May 4th, opening agricultural businesses due to legislative change. First come, first served basis. It is a low interest up to 30-year term as for new loans, and is actually deferred for 1 year. Eligible idle loans may be used for fixed debt, payroll, accounts payable, and other bills that could not have been paid had the disaster not occurred. They are not intended to replace loss of sales or profit or expansion. Now, the idle advance provided in the CARES and the PPP Healthcare and Enhancement Act total funding is $20 billion. Economic relief for those with a temporary loss of revenue, and that part does not have to be repaid, and it's up to $10,000 based on $1,000 per employee. Now, the advance may be used also to pay fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, and other bills that could not have been paid if the disaster did not occur. If you have already applied, SBA's Office of Disaster Assistance is processing both EIDL and the EIDL advance loans as quickly as possible. Additional staff have been hired to meet these demands. The EIDL advance will automatically be deposited into your account. EIDLs, like I stated before, are being served on first come, first served basis. Now, if you received an application that was submitted successfully and you have a 333 number that begins with your application, then it is being processed. Okay. Now, at one point in time, we had early applicants, and those numbers began with a 2. So if you have received those numbers, we ask that you go and reapply via the updated portal, and they will actually keep the timestamp in accordance with the original time that when you first applied. And it remains open for agricultural businesses such as farms. So far, we do not know as of yet when the EIDL loan will be opened up to small businesses. So we are waiting on an update on that. We also, you can actually contact the disaster customer service through either a telephone, as you can see the 800 number there, or an email at disastercustomerservice@SBA in order to find statuses, because the SBA field offices do not have access to those application information. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, our SBA-based program, the existing and new tools that are going on, working capitals and fixed assets and finances, payments are being deferred up to 6 months, and it also includes the new Express Bridge Loan Program for up to 25 that actually helps bridge the gaps. Also going is our regular SBA Express loans that is actually up to $1 million now. SBA advising and mentoring. We have hundreds of locations throughout the nation to help with any form of documentation that you will need when it comes down to our regular based programs. We have advising on future planning, supply chains, and concerns. We have our resource partners that are located in all the boroughs. We have SCORE, we have small business development centers, we have women's business centers, as well as veteran business outreach centers that can actually help put all of that information together for you, help you get the documentations and everything else that you will need in regards to the PPP program. Now, this slide here is just one of our success stories in regards to how the PPP program is helping them to stay open, the small businesses that have actually received the PPP funds and are actually open and working again. And with that, if you have any questions, you can reach out to the sba.gov/corona or sba.gov, our Long Island branch office. My name is Robin Daniels, and I thank you.
Thank you, Robin. So I know we have some questions. Some of the questions you sort of alluded to, but so the lender, you don't have a list for the lenders in the Long Island area, right? You don't have those.
Listen.
So Jason, what you can do is a couple of things. Is you can go to sba.gov/paycheck protection. If you put in your zip code, it'll give you a list of local lenders in your areas for PPP.
Okay, so it's
sba.gov/paycheck protection, one word.
If you have any questions or problems, please don't hesitate to contact us. Our office number is 631-854-1111, and our email is info.do15@suffolkcountynY.gov. And thank you again to everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Have a good day.